What I'm doing now is I just want to show you kind of the function and setup of a science notebook so that you guys have a good idea of what it's useful for and what the different parts are. So you'll notice the front cover, obviously that's so we can identify it and figure out what's going on, kind of personalize it a little bit. Flip to the inside cover, we've got contact information, everything from my email address to study buddy numbers. Over here we've got a table of contents that you can see is starting to grow on this one, but we've left plenty of room for the rest of the year. Then we have some reference pages. One of them is processing techniques that we can use when we get new information. So if a student goes home and they've got some information and they're asked to do one of these, like make an analogy, it has all the instructions, the basic instructions to put that together in case they struggle. All of the handouts that you see are actually available online on the website so that you can download those. Notice over here we use Costas levels of inquiry sometimes. We have reading strategies and common word roots, so prefixes, suffixes, those kinds of things that you can see in there. I also have lab write-up guidelines, so we have a checklist that we can use when we do the lab write-ups. And then here's our first entry, and the very first entry would normally consist of notes that were given. This is the input side where students get input from their teacher, they get it out of a book, they find an article, something that you input information from. And then on the left-hand side is how you take that information and you organize it. You put it into a format that's easier to understand. On the next entry, here's another example. We had this idea that was all conceptual. We inputted information about the concept of density and how it's related to buoyancy. And then on the other side, we have some sample calculations and some other work that the students would have done. As another example, here's a metric memory device that we did in class, and in order to support that and to reinforce some of the most common measurements, we had them go home and find examples of each of the most common measurements for linear distance, for volume, and for mass. Here's an example of a project where they had to go find an article and then they had to go process it using one of their reading strategies. So you kind of get a general sense of what's going on. In the back of the book, there are some bingo cards that I use for Element Bingo later on in the year. And the last thing that I have in here is I have a parent input page where each quarter the parents go through and evaluate using the following rubric. They're able to evaluate the work that their student is doing, and it counts like a test grade.